Happy, beautiful day. It's Pete Cohen here. Welcome to the Pete Cohen podcast. This is the number 3. This is the third episode in a series of 4 about how to make your 2020 your best year yet. Now, I don't know how many times you've heard that or someone else has said those words before, but I think 2020 is a good number, right? And I want to help you have 2020 vision on your 2020 goals. That's what we spoke about in the last podcast and the podcast before that. We talked about the formula for success. Today's podcast, we're talking about how to be distracted from your distractions. Get ready for another game-changing podcast. I'll see you after the theme tune. The big question is, how are some people in the world today creating the results they want with their health, wealth, and happiness? What exactly are these people doing? This podcast will give you the answers and inspire you to live the life that you want today. Happy, beautiful day. Pete Cohen here. Welcome to the podcast. How to be distracted from your distractions. Don't you just love that if you think about it? Does that do something to your head? Does it make you kind of go, what does that actually mean? Well, imagine if it would be, this is my goal, and part of this podcast is to inspire everyone, and we're actually live now. I'm doing something I've never, ever done before. I'm actually, this podcast is live on Facebook Live. I've never done this before, so a bit strange because that's going out now, but this podcast won't be going out for a few weeks. I think this will be out probably early December, and that already starts to kind of scramble my brain a little bit. But my goal for this podcast is not only to provide you with some valuable content that really fits into these 4 podcasts around goal setting and making 2020, a great year. It's also to kind of give you a different perspective about everything, because right now there's a major, major problem going on in the world. And, it is our attention. If you think about what's the most valuable thing in the world, the most valuable thing, I think there's a few things, but definitely way up there is leadership. I think when you look around the world and you see some of the issues that we have and you think, wow, how much of that is down to leaders who aren't really inspiring, leaders who don't really care about others. Let's not go down that road, because that means let's take an exit from Brexit. That's good, isn't it? I think that our attention, right now, I don't know if I am probably right now fighting for your attention, or you're fighting to keep your attention, because within any second now, you're going to find yourself being grabbed by something else. Something is going to grab you that is going to take you down a road. And what we have to ask ourselves is really, if there are certain things that we want to achieve in our lives, what are the things that we're doing that is grabbing our attention and taking us down a road, a rabbit hole that we don't want to go? Because sometimes we can go down a rabbit hole, and quite simply, this probably won't surprise you, you can think to yourself, hang on, how did I get here? And I don't even know what I was doing before. How many times has that happened to you in your life? It is an experience that more and more people are having every single day. Literally, they start something and they go somewhere else. So there's so many things that could grab our attention, right? Especially with technology. I don't know. So let's talk about a few. I mean, right now I can see my computer in front of me. I can see there's a red thing on my email. There's a red thing on Skype, on my phone, messages on WhatsApp, messages on... I mean, all these things are grabbing my attention. And if I'm not careful, they will distract me away from what it is that I need to do. Now, I think for most people, really, and this is so important for all of us just to wake up and realize this, is that if you don't have compelling goals, you will be like a little rat or a mouse who's just literally just looking for cheese. It's literally just being pulled all over the place. Or the monkey mind, the monkey in your head that literally is just going crazy. It never sits still, and it's always looking to grab things. I would be in serious trouble. I believe I would be in serious trouble. And I invite you to think about this yourself. Would you be in serious trouble if you didn't really have compelling goals? If you really didn't have a reason, what would you do? What would you do with your life? There's a very famous book, Man's Search for Meaning. And the author who survived concentration camps, his family was killed. He was one of these people who really got so many people to look at life. He had a theory. It was called logotherapy, which was basically things could happen to you in your life, but the difference that made the difference was how you dealt with what happened. Because there is a part of us that is still there. There is a part of us that, even though traumatic things happen to people and difficult things happen, there is a part of us that in many cases can still choose how we deal with what has happened. There is always a part of us. And I believe that part of us is always there. So whenever I talk to people, and right now I'm looking at also a picture on my screen of me being in a presentation, and I asked everyone to pick up their phones and turn the lights on their phone, turn the lights off and turn the lights on their phone. And you see this light of everyone holding up. I believe there's a light inside every single one of us that can focus on something and make things happen. You have that ability. And if you think about this, we go way back through history. Thousands of years ago, human beings survived quite simply because they could hold their attention on something. It was called hunting. You know, the reason you could be a vegan, you can be a vegetarian, but let's just face facts. Man, at some point in your ancestry, would have eaten meat and would have eaten meat to survive. They might have foraged for berries and whatever else they could find. This is not a debate about whether we should be eating meat or not. There's many sides to that argument. But the fact is that man would go out, and his ability to focus on one thing, right, which was basically to distract from everything else and to focus on what was really important. And if you think about man back then, there were less things to grab his attention. So my first goal for all of you is to think about how many things will grab your attention that will take you away from where it is that you want to go. Now, a caveman wasn't in the position of growing an online business. He wasn't in the business of being able to get on an aeroplane and fly across the world. He had less things in his sphere of his attention. Life was very, very, very simple. It was probably very hard, but it was quite a simple existence. And now what's happened over the last 2,500 years that man has been around, we have massively changed the way that we live our life. And in fact, just so you know, and aside, meditation was a tool that was discovered, 2,500 years ago. I think I just got my numbers wrong there, but meditation was a tool that was discovered 2,500 years ago, because at that point, man's been around longer than 2,500 years. What I meant to say is meditation was discovered 2,500 years ago when man started to realize that he could start to think too many things, that he could start to get distracted by shiny objects. I mean, think about this, right? And as we talk about 2020, one of my favorite words is that there is some words that Indian Sanskrit words that mean hero in the beginning. Many people have heard me say these words before, right? That you could start something and be a hero in the beginning. They recognized this a long time ago, a couple of thousand years ago. What were people doing? You could decide to do something and you could be distracted. What distracted people then? And you think about now, how many things in your life that will distract you away from where you're going? It is a disease. And if we don't wake up to it and really realize how much of a massive problem it is, I'm going to take a sip of my coffee here. Let me put it to you like this. If you want to make 2020 your best year yet, you better wake up to where your attention is and how much of your day is on track in moving towards things that are important to you and how much of your time you're being distracted. We've got a big problem, and we can talk about it till the cows come home. We talk about addiction, right? So, many years ago, you look at smoking. Smoking was something that people thought was a good thing to do. Doctors would tell people to smoke. It was acceptable. It was a lifestyle thing. But then how long did it take until people realized, whoa, hang on, that's not a good thing. And now you can go into a shop and you can't even see them because they're now blocked up. And on the back of cigarettes, you see the picture of someone's lungs. And it was exactly the same with alcohol. And then obviously gambling. For me, I'm addicted to gambling. That's why I just don't do it. I just don't do it. I'm addicted to it. I, from a very early age, playing fruit machines, these flashing lights were so appealing to me because it's like something is pulling my attention, and the fact that you could make little noises and things could happen, you could win something. I was addicted. I wasted an absolute fortune of time, energy, money, emotion. And now it's sugar. Sugar, we talk about candy, sugar. It's killing people, right? And we know that now, and now people are starting to wake up to it. If we don't wake up to the fact that our attention is seriously being taken away from things that are important. If we don't wake up to that fact, we are moving more and more into a world where we're not present anymore. And we will come to the end of our life and we'll look back and we'll think, you know what, I wasted so much of my life. Many years ago, we made a documentary about happiness, and I interviewed a woman who was dying. And, I never forget, she said, I've wasted my life. And she really was not using technology. And that's why, obviously, technology is a wonderful tool, and learning how to use it. You're probably listening to this right now well, you must be, right? Unless you're outside my house just watching me, which would be a bit strange. You're using technology, and tools have been around since the beginning of time. Man found tools. Man found a way of using a rock to make a weapon. We've always used tools, but the tools that we've used in the last 25, 30 years have massively had a big impact on our lives. And if you want, let's just go back right to the beginning of the first of these 4 podcasts, when I asked the question, what is it that you want to achieve, right? What is it that you want to make happen in 2020? What's important to you? Are you prepared to stop, get a piece of paper and actually think, where do I want to be in 365 days? With your health, with your relationships, with your wealth, your work, where do you want to be? Because there is a roadmap, if you wanted to achieve any of those things. And just as an aside, if you want to go into this stuff in a deeper, more fulfilling and impactful way, then we're going to be doing this in January in the My365 Elite Pro. If you want to find out about Elite Pro, just go to petecohen.com/coaching and watch the video there. It's a coaching video, which is about discovering the secrets to take the lead in your life. So you start winning with your health and your wealth and your happiness. A great life doesn't happen by chance. It happens by design. Because just think about it. What is the chances if I could just say, hey, let's look at your form, right? Looks like you're a horse. And, is this horse going to win? I don't mean to call you a horse, but maybe you are a horse, which would be weird. But think about it, right? We could talk now and could say, I'll transport you into a year's time, 365 days. Where do you think you'll be? Do you think you'll be in a better place? Or do you think you would be proud of yourself and what you've done? Or would you just be in a very similar place to where you are now? Probably just with a few more gray hairs, maybe a few more pounds on your body, experience a bit more stress. Where will you be? Because if we're putting odds on it, I think you probably know where you were going to be unless you decided to do things differently. And what could you do differently that would make you have more traction to what you're attracted to? And in my work with people, the thing that I am so fascinated about is about supporting, inspiring, coaching, mentoring people to be compelled about where they're going. Imagine how many children this year will be compelled to open their Christmas presents. But the fact is they'll probably have too many presents and nothing will hold their attention for very long. They'll probably play games. I saw Call of Duty just came out again, and I thought years ago when I used to play games like that, but I can't play games like that because that's not the game I want to play. What is the game of life that you want to play? What are the odds what are the odds against you? Are you prepared to put the odds back in your favor? Because if you really want to, you're going to have to do things differently. There's no question about it. There's a few things I repeatedly say, and one of them is if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. I'm really fortunate, actually, because I'm doing something I've never done before. There's a few people watching me right now on Facebook Live, and I can see one of them is Caroline Stammers. So Caroline is one of the people who's on my coaching program, and Caroline, great to see you. What a great example of someone who is an incredible lady, and what has happened to her in her life. Maybe some of that she wouldn't choose to have happened, but it has happened. And part of what's happened to her is having a back challenge, which has given her a lot of pain. And what distracts people more than anything else in life, is when they're in pain. I cracked a rib recently. I was a nightmare to be around. Absolute nightmare. So people, when we're in pain, it's very hard to focus on anything. But you know when we are our worst is when our souls are tormented. You know, what I mean by our souls, I don't mean anything religious. I said our souls. Sorry, our souls are tormented by our thinking. And most of us are at war with ourselves, whether we don't have a great relationship with ourselves, but we can change that. And when I had a conversation with Caroline about what she wants to do, it's fascinating, really, because what she wants to do with her life actually has a lot to do with what I'm talking about right now. So she's someone who's studied psychology, and she's someone who really wants to help people be organized in their life. And boy, do people need help with that. How many people do you know that could really do with some help in how to be organized, how to make sense of what is going on, what is important? Now, whether she chooses to do that or not, ultimately is her choice, right? It's what she's been called to do. But how many times will she be distracted away from that because maybe she's in pain, maybe because her children want her, maybe she's got a job to do, maybe she just doesn't feel like it, maybe she thinks that she can't do it. If you are not defined by a compelling vision of where you are going, you will be, and this is a big claim, you will recreate the past. And I don't want that for you, unless you want to, and that's perfectly your choice, because what you do is actually none of my business. It's just that I'm in a business where I love to help people go from where they are to where they want to be. So you're sitting here right now, you're listening. Where are you in the world? Where do you want to be next year? What do you want to do with your life? I used to hate that question because I didn't know, because I was severely dyslexic at school. I hated school. It was a complete waste of time, absolute waste of time. I learned nothing. Well, okay, maybe I learned to read and write, but didn't learn to do maths very well. And I still can't read and write particularly well. But anyway, so why I'm telling you this is that I wasn't inspired. I just lucky that I had some great mentors when I got older. Lucky I had incredible parents and great friends. And I found what I love to do, which is to light up that light inside human beings and go on an epic quest with them for them to realize their full potential. Look, this is a time where people will start this is Christmas, right? Just around the corner when this goes live. What will you be doing? You will be consuming more alcohol, more sugar than you need to. You'll be sitting down less. You'll have a couple of days off if you're lucky. You will be watching Christmas movies. You'll forget about your life for a bit. But your life is important, and I'm not saying you shouldn't do those things, and Christmas is a great time. It can be for having with your family and so on. But you'll be watching a film. How many films will you watch? When you watch that film, what will you see? You won't be distracted from it. When I saw Star Wars in 1977, I saw it 10 times. Could I sit there when I was told, look, you can't concentrate on anything? What? Yes, I can. I was bored. The teacher just sat up there, started talking about stuff in a way that they weren't interested in it. So I just start mucking about. But when something's got my attention, I'm going to stick to it no matter what. What's got your attention right now? What got my attention this morning at 4 o'clock this morning was making this podcast and doing something great and sharing it with the world, because I know there's one person who's listening to this that might make a massive difference to her life or his life. I have no idea. It's making a difference to my life because it's making me realize how important it is to be driven by a vision of where you're going. Otherwise, imagine going in a car saying, I don't know where I'm going, I'm just going to drive. How long would it be until you went, I don't actually know where I'm going, I'm just going to keep driving. You get bored and something would eat away inside you. That's what's happening inside a lot of people. It's not like we should be driven to the point where we don't enjoy the journey. Of course we should enjoy the journey, knowing that we're contributing and we're knowing that we are getting better in some way. Are you prepared to make this year the year where you wake up like never before? You use the most powerful tool in the history of man, which is awareness, to become aware of how you're living your life and where the most valuable thing you own, which is your attention, where is that going right now? Where is it going? Are you just about to go and watch another cat video on YouTube, to then watch another video, to then think, what was I doing in the first place? I really don't remember. I wrote down some statistics as we start to wrap this up. I hope you guys are fired up, because in the next podcast on this series, the last one, I'm going to show you how to stay energized, motivated, inspired about where you're going. So let me just share with you these pretty alarming statistics, which I wrote down. Oh, yeah, no, got another thing for you. Ready? Let's do a quick experiment. You ready? If you're thinking, is Pete Cohen on drugs this morning? No, I'm just drinking the world's healthiest coffee and I'm fired up right now. Here we go. I want you to count to 10 as quickly as you can. Ready? Go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Right, for most people, that's about 1.5 seconds. Congratulations. And let's go from A to J. You ready? Go. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. Oh, I said K. I did 11. Probably a little bit longer, but yeah, well done. Now, I want you to go 1 or go 1A, 2B. Ready? Go all the way up to J. Ready? Go. 1A, 2B, C3, D4, E5. I'm actually stuck. That's what happens when you try and do two things. We are all terrible at multitasking. The science is unequivocal about this. Our IQ drops. Women's drop just a little bit less than men, the science says. What does that mean? It still means women are terrible at it as well. And there is obviously part. The fact is we think we're effective at multitasking. And that's the biggest challenge, because most of the things that we need to do that will help us move forwards need our full attention. Just like listening to this podcast. It's only broadcasting on Facegram, Facebook and Instagram, because I read some alarming statistics about that. Most people with a live broadcast on Facebook will watch it for like a minute. Whereas podcast people tend to listen to the beginning to the end. And you know why that is? Because podcasts engage another part of your brain that switches off when you're watching. You have to use the creative part of your mind when you're listening. You know, many years ago, because I was very dyslexic and I really didn't like reading and writing, I found it so difficult. But my dad recorded Lord of the Rings that was on, I think it was Radio 4. It was amazing. I just captured my imagination. Some of the greatest actors, British actors, they were recording the audio of Lord of the Rings. And then when I finally saw Peter Jackson's film many years later, it just blew me away, because I thought, wow, that's just how I imagined it. That you've got this imagination to be attracted to something that is in front of you, not having Ben and Jerry's ice cream tonight or a bottle of wine at the end of the day. Often we're attracted to those things. But what about if you were attracted to 365 days of you being the best that you can possibly be? And I really hope, I'm not paying lip service to this. I hope that you're inspired by this. And, to make positive changes in your life, maybe you'll take something away from this. What is your biggest learning from what I've just said? I encourage you to tell someone. Make a like, make a comment. If you're watching this on our website, petecohen.com/podcast, or if you're watching this or listening, on Spotify, iTunes, share it, tell someone. The best way to learn is to teach. It really, really is. And like I say, if you want to go into this stuff in a bit more detail, literally go and watch that coaching video. It's 40 minutes long. And okay, that's an extended period of time, really. That if you think about how much of your time you waste waiting for things to turn on or power off or upload or whatever, it's not that much time. And it could be one of the biggest investments of your time. A video is free. Discover the 3 secrets to take the lead in your life so you start winning with your health, wealth, and happiness. I encourage you to watch that, and on the back of it, you can get on a call with me. You really can. And I've been speaking to a few people recently who really are serious about taking their life to another level. That's where human beings are at their happiest and most fulfilled, when they're working towards something, where they are contributing and growing. Wake up to the fact that the biggest disease at the moment of our time, or one of them, is definitely distraction. Let's have traction to where we're going. Let's have the awareness of realizing when we're moving off track. And let's bring ourselves back on track as quickly as possible. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I really appreciate it. It's something that I'm very proud of, and I love doing it. Absolutely love doing it. We'll keep doing it for as long as I can, for as long as I'm here. Take care. Thanks for watching. We'll see you for the last episode of the 4 episodes on making 2020 your best year yet. Goodbye. Thanks for listening to the podcast. If you want to find out what life coaching can do for you with me, Pete Cohen, then simply visit petecohen.com/coaching and book a free strategy call, and we can help you find out exactly what it is that you want and help you put a plan in place to create the future that you want today.